Rise to Ruins is one of the more unique titles available through early access, melding multiple genres together including tower defense, god simulation, city building, and resource management. Rise to Ruins offers way more than meets the eye. This title will not be for everyone, but those that enjoy a challenge and understand the importance of a good defense should have no problem finding something to love. Hey everyone, Tyler here with Gilded Reviews, and today we are doing a first look at Rise to Ruins. In my first looks, I like to highlight indie titles, hopefully giving you the information you need to decide if that title is right for you. So if you guys like the video, throw us a thumbs up, check out some of our other content, or consider subscribing. Rise to Ruins is an early access god simulator from developer Raymond Doer. Before I get started, I want to say that I rarely see a developer this involved with their community. Rise to Ruins has a Discord where the developer consistently engages with people, answering questions and taking suggestions. It really is different than most games, and it seems to be an evolution of the typical indie development process. I know other titles do this, but the entire community is surprisingly welcoming. Anyways, let's jump into the game, starting with the art, animation, and sound. The art style is pixel-based, which some people seem to have an issue with. I personally like it and love the feeling it gives to the game. Everything runs smooth, and the color palette makes it easy to see what is going on. The sound is welcoming, and the audio cues are great, letting you know when things are not going the way you expected. On the animation side, everything is very basic, but it works well with the overall aesthetic. Moving on, let's talk about the gameplay loop and what you will be doing with most of your time in Rise to Ruins. This title offers players multiple modes, giving you a choice on how difficult you would like the game to be. I would recommend starting in traditional mode, so you can get a feel for how the job system works, how enemy waves travel towards your base, and how you can increase your population. Rise to Ruins is one of those games that has a higher learning curve. I mean, it isn't as high as something like Kenshi, and it doesn't come close to Dwarf Fortress, but getting used to the game's basic mechanics will take some time. You start out by selecting an area to set up camp from the world map. From here, you start to build your base, placing houses, farms, and whatever else you need. This is also when you will start to manage resources and giving people jobs. Basic management sim rules apply here, so placing structures that work together will increase productivity. A lumber shack and lumber mill on opposite sides of your village is simply not very efficient. Any decent village sim is going to offer loads of statistics to help get the job done, and Rise to Ruins is no different. The game's UI might be a little clunky, but it does give you everything you need to progress through the game. The basic idea is to try and survive through a never-ending blight that has corrupted the world. This corruption spreads, eventually covering the map, spawning baddies that will attack you at night. This is where the game starts to feel different than most village simulators. You don't ever really get attached to anyone, and the incredible stories you get from games like Dwarf Fortress and RimWorld are virtually non-existent. This is not a bad thing. That just isn't what this game is. Instead, the developer has focused on tower defense and god simulation mechanics. Honestly, this couldn't make me happier. There are a lot of games out there now that offer a deep village building experience, but there are just too few god simulators that really harken back to the glory days of Lionhead Studios' Black and White. What I am getting at is you have powers, and they make a huge impact on the game. I personally like using the labor golem, magic bolts, motivate land, and grab. There are multiple skills to choose from, and each costs a varying degree of influence. Influence is essentially your god juice, and it works like mana from a traditional RPG. The overall amount of influence increases as you gain more followers. It's a nice system that fits great within this title. You can also build essence collectors that will help refill your influence bar and power your defenses. Speaking of which, while setting up your base, it is important to keep your defenses in mind. What type of towers you are going to use and how much space you have to build your walls are all questions you are going to want to ask yourself as you start building. Once you have an idea, you can get to work on your towers, walls, and golems. This eventually leads to you building a massive kill box that enemies walk through. It sounds a lot easier than it is. This game is relentless, and even on traditional mode, it can be easy to get overrun, especially for new players. The artificial intelligence is pretty easy to figure out, and after your first round, you will have a much better understanding of how you should build your base. It was designed that way on purpose, and it's one of the best aspects of this game. You should never go into a map expecting to come out on top. You should look at it as a learning experience until you understand enough about the game to survive so you can migrate to a new land. That's right. As you progress through the game, the corruption may get so bad that your defenses may not be able to hold back your village's impending doom. So instead of just throwing in the towel, you build a migration way station and start sending your villagers to neighboring areas. If you save and exit to the world map, you will be able to select this new area and build a brand new base. This allows you to start over with a few bonuses that you acquired from your previous attempt, including items, people, and some cool buffs that you get for surviving and completing goals. Some of these items take time to migrate over and require special buildings, but the idea is still the same. Move your higher level guys to a new area and start with some bonuses, hopefully creating a more secure base than you did before. That was just a quick rundown of what this game has to offer. I love Rise to Ruins, and I think it is one of the better early access titles out there. It offers players a lot of content, especially for the cost. I wouldn't be surprised if people end up getting 100+ hours out of it, and for $10, that is saying a lot. Unfortunately, there are two things that I really don't like. First off, you get a dedicated building area when you are putting down buildings and walls. It seems each building increases the radius a little, but not by much. Walls, on the other hand, block the area off completely, so once you build a wall, you cannot build outside of that wall. Maybe there's a way around this, and if there is, I am sure it is something very simple that I missed, but it can get frustrating, especially when you are trying to expand. This can also cause issues with tower and maze construction. I always find it much easier to build my maze from the inside out rather than the outside in. Unfortunately, this isn't even an option, at least that I know of. And the second issue I have is with the UI. Some things are just clunky and don't work the way I would expect. For example, when I want to upgrade all of my towers, I have to individually select them, click upgrade, and then click OK. This can be extremely time consuming and a pain. Maybe they could just set it up so if you double click on a unit, it will select all similar units in an area and you can upgrade them all at once. Maybe there is a way to do this. Or it could be in a menu somewhere and I just haven't been able to figure it out. Both of these issues are extremely small in the grand scheme of things, and overall this game is still well worth it for anyone looking for a decent god simulator or tower defense game. The cost is what gets me here. The base game is $10 before a sale. The amount of content available is insane for that cost. So I recommend this title to anyone interested in a pixel art god simulator with fantastic tower defense mechanics, a well-designed gameplay loop, and an extremely dedicated developer. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Rise to Ruins was a lot more fun than I originally anticipated. If you have had a chance to play it, let me know what you thought in the comments. Anyways, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.